What's up, everybody? This is Carter with Coin Mastery TV. Welcome to another episode of Coin Mastery TV. Make sure you go subscribe to the newsletter at coinmastery.com or subscribe to our YouTube channel at coinmastery.com/YouTube. Wow, today we're talking about what's happening after the shenanigans of Bitcoin Cash. Now, specifically, I think today is going to be an equally wild day for a few reasons, which I'll discuss in a few minutes here. Over the course of this video, what I want to talk about is what's happening now. I want to talk about a quick test that I did yesterday where I learned a lot and I kind of messed something up, but I think that you can learn a lot from it. It was a trade kind of strategy that I'm trying that actually may work out over the long term, but this particular one was kind of a miss. And then finally, I want to talk about what's going to happen with Bitcoin Cash today because of the wallets opening up, especially on Bittrex. So make sure you stick around, watch the whole thing. All right, let's dive into it. And if you hear any background noise, I apologize. I'm in kind of a crazy office today, but it should be, you should be able to hear my voice for the most part. Okay, so today we're looking at Crypto Watch. We're just opening this up, and you can see there's a bit of an inflection point earlier today, a few hours ago. There's no real reason for this other than just market-wide things started to get good. You'll see in pretty much all of the Bittrex markets and the altcoins, you're going to see a pretty substantial increase. And most importantly, what you don't see necessarily at first glance on Crypto Watch is that there is a substantial increase in volume across all of these coins, right? So we don't really typically look at the volumes here, but in Bittrex, that is really what the name of the game is. And this is the first time I think I've ever seen it where we're getting 1,000 Bitcoin in the top 10. I think that's 10 right there, right? So the news of the day is that the volume is dramatically increasing. That's from a variety of things. It's from Bitcoin Cash really moving the velocity of Bitcoin. Right? In finance, they talk about the velocity of money is really one of the fastest ways to grow an economy, where you don't necessarily need more money as much as you just need more money to move through the markets, because that can create growth. Some people don't like that that's kind of a byproduct of buying and selling more, but it's the truth, right? The more people buy and sell, typically the more action you get, and in a growing market like this, the more people will put more money in. So the news that I've seen in the last 6 hours is the volume is starting to really tick up, especially in these altcoins. I think that this has really been I think it was plan 3 out of 3 that we talked about, where we're seeing a lot of volume increasing, and altcoins will probably continue to be the highest ROI place you can put your money. Right? I know for myself, I keep 70% of my portfolio in the big ones, right? I keep it in Ethereum, Bitcoin, Monero, and Litecoin for the most part. And then I have the other 30% is really kind of, I would say, trading money. And that's all in altcoins. I'm really just trying to nail these smaller markets, because I think that's really where you should be spending your time right now anyway. So as we go through, you see the volume inflection point in pretty much all of these. There haven't been any that stood out, with the exception of OMG. OMG really came out of nowhere this morning. And from what I can tell, it just looked like it came from a few news stories that came out. I can't really verify the whole McDonald's in Thailand thing. I can't tell if that's a legitimate whatever you call it, like news, if it's real news or fake news or whatever. But when you look at the charts, you'll see that this volume increase corresponds to the market. So what this tells me, without getting too deep into the research, which I looked through Twitter a bit, but I couldn't find anything too definitive. It seems to me that there's just an overall volume increase in the market, and OMG got a big proportion of that volume. What that means to me is that there's a lot of people that are really interested in OMG. There's a lot of pent-up demand for OMG that was waiting to buy it. That bodes really well. Assuming this price holds, that bodes well for the long term. What does that mean for you? This may be a coin that's worth buying. I personally, I have a personal kind of rule, I guess, that I try not to buy coins when they've been going up for a consistent, for more than 5 or 6. Like I like to buy it when it's dropping. Even if it's gone up for 3 days in a row, I wait till the day when it drops, just on principle. So you may want to wait until it has a down day. But OMG, it's starting to look like it may have the legs that a lot of these ICOs have been gunning for. Like Civic is a good example. Civic has not had that moment yet. OMG did, which is great. I really think the news, though, is going to be this. So this is Richie. I don't know if he owns or founded Bittrex, but he certainly is very, very high up at Bittrex. Great guy to follow on Twitter. Go check him out at Richie LA. And he talks, basically said that at 9 a.m. Pacific, which is as of, I'm shooting this 11:30 Eastern, so in half an hour, the Bittrex exchange wallet should open up for Bitcoin Cash. What that means, my best guess would be that the price is going to drop considerably. It may go up and down for a little bit, but overall, I think that the wallet is going to make it much more liquid so that people can put their Bitcoin Cash into Bittrex and exchange it for Bitcoin. That could easily drive the price of Bitcoin up. It could drive the price of all the altcoins up because people then spend it on altcoins. I think that all this Bitcoin Cash is gotta go somewhere. I don't think it's all going to go into Bitcoin. So I think that you're going to see even more volume, right? I think that that's where you're starting to see the beginnings of this volume on the day. I think we're just going to see more and more of that with things like Bitfinex. Cryptopia opened up their wallets last night. Now with Bittrex, which is the top volume, I think that we're going to continue to see this volume spike. So if you have any money laying around, this may be a good day to put it into some altcoins, because as all of this Bitcoin Cash flows in, I think we're going to just see a lot of buying activity happening, which is always really good news. So when you watch this video, probably in like an hour or so, I would keep your eye on the volume. If you see the volume start to increase, it may be a good time just to throw a little cash at your favorite altcoin. All right, cool. I think that's really the big story of the day. I don't think nothing else really jumped out. It's kind of the same story as it always is. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to show you this, I guess it was an experiment, something I've been messing around with or looking at that I tried yesterday, and it technically it worked, but it actually didn't really work. And what I mean by that is I want to show you. So let's open up. I looked at a bunch of different coins, and what I did is, so for anyone on Bittrex, most of you guys know, if you've used this, you can change the timeline, right? So each one of these candles, each one of these blocks represents the different time span, right? So the default is 30 minutes, meaning that every single one of these is a 30-minute block. So in this 30-minute block, it went down considerably. In this one, it went up a little bit. This is just the spread by here's the highest bid and here's the lowest bid that actually got executed, and here's the overall direction of the trading. So when you look at the 30 minutes, you can scroll out and you can see some general trend lines. And here's what I noticed, and I think there's obviously, I've said this before, I do not have a technical trading background. I want to learn more. I learn best from experience, so I go and learn something and then I go apply it with a very small amount of money. So I think I took like 0.1 Bitcoin or something and experimented on this. And what the experiment was, and I haven't seen anything definitive on this, even though it backs into a lot of different technical theory or charting, I guess, is that I noticed that for the most part, and it doesn't matter which timeline you look at, when you see 4 of any color in a row, on average, you will see a bounce back in the other direction within 2 or 3 after that. All right, and look, this is not an exact science, and I'm sure people are going to call me out and say that this isn't accurate. I know it's not accurate. This is just an experiment, and this is going to evolve. It was just really helpful to do this, just to make it real, right? And so I looked at a lot of different coins, and I wanted to see which ones had a bit of volatility, right? So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4 sell bars in a row, and even better is when it goes, it's 4 and the volume is increasing as the bars move forward, right? So the more time that goes on, the higher the volume gets. And if it's all sell volume, that is a very, very good sign, because it means the sell speed is increasing. And when I did this, I noticed that there's almost always a rebound relatively quickly after that bar happens. And so what I wanted to do yesterday is test this out. And so I did the 5-minute chart, because you tend to see more of these in the 5 minutes, which means it's happening faster. But and so yesterday I did it, and where was it? I guess it was yesterday afternoon at some point, like right around here. But I waited until I saw 4 in a row, and the price dropped. I think it was right in the afternoon here. So it was, where was it? Well, it was sometime yesterday afternoon. I think it might have been right over here, where the price dropped for 4 or 5 minutes in a row. I bought it at like 5,200 or whatever, and then I waited to see if it would bounce back up. And guess what? It did. It bounced back up to like 5,300, maybe 5,320 or something. Now, if I was trading like 100 Bitcoin at a time, I would have made 1.5% minus the Bittrex fees. And that's how a lot of people day trade, is they wait for it to dip, and then they make the margin on the upside. The problem is that the swing is rarely big enough, unless you're moving huge amounts of money, for that to be profitable. So I set my limit order at like 54 or something, or 53 high, and it didn't fill, and then it dropped back down to 50.97, because the overall trend, like beyond the 5 minute, is actually going down. So when I missed that small 5 minute window of it bouncing back up, the bigger trend took over, and it actually, the trend is going down. And then when you zoom out to the 30 minute, you can see that it may actually be on an even bigger bull trend, right? Which we've talked about in previous videos with BitShares, potentially going back up and things like that. So I know that's a lot of info, but what really happened is that I tested. If you see a lot of sell volume happening in the same period of time, on average, you were going to see a jump back up. Right? No matter if you do 1 minute, 5 minute, 30 minute, 1 hour, 1 day, whatever. The further out you go, the bigger the time frame, the bigger the swing you can get. Right? So when you're looking at like yearly charts, or like 1 day charts over the course of a year, you can look at, this quarter it's down, and then next quarter it's going to go up, and you can make hundreds of percents, but you got to wait a long time. If you look at the 5 minute, you get the exact same logic, but the percentage is much smaller, because it's, you don't get those 10% jumps in 5 minutes very often. And so it was a really good theory for me, or really good for me to do this, because it proved to me at least once, I got to do this like 5 or 10 more times before I get the hang of it, that you can make money quickly, but it's going to be very, very, very small percentage increases. And so this can work very often, but you got to be moving an enormous amount of money, which is very risky, right? So I think what I concluded, and this is nothing new, is that the best way to trade is to look at the 30-minute chart, and the biggest indicator is not just the sell volume being 4 in a row, but the sell volume increasing as it lengthens, right? So by the 4th block, the sell volume is at the highest level. That's when you want to buy. And looking at the 30-minute candles is probably where you're going to make the big money, as far as I can tell. Now, the hardest part is that it just takes patience, right? It just takes a lot of discipline and patience to wait for these. You can kind of see when you look at the charts, like, this was kind of a dip. This was obviously a pretty extreme dip. Here's an extreme dip. And that's what happens when you get the big sell volume spikes, right? And not all of these follow the same pattern, but that's what you want to look for, is the high volume of selling. And I think with the 30-minute is when you can actually make the 20-30% swings in a relatively short amount of time. I'm talking like within a day, like actually day trading. I have no intention of day trading. But I wanted to share that with you because I think that a lot of people are interested in technical trading. And I think that they see it as this very complicated world. And I've talked to enough technical traders who have all told me the same thing. They're like, it's really like a couple fundamentals will take care of almost all of the trading that you need to do to be profitable. And that's what as we get into technical stuff, I want to focus on the few fundamentals that can help you guys make money if you want to get into the trading side of things, which I think you should do with this volatility. And I think the first fundamental that I think is probably the most important is looking at sell volume on the 30-minute chart candles. I think that is the number one indicator that people should be looking at when they're looking for a really good buying opportunity. And so I'm going to start looking at that as we continue, right? Next time we see a lot of sell volume happening, I think that it's going to be interesting to start executing on some of these trades. I think a lot of my buying decisions will be based on that. And I think that you guys, something you can do every day now is go through like literally any of these and see when the best buying opportunities were, right? And you'll always see, like, let's look at Stratus here, 30-minute candles. The best buying opportunities are always when, you see the sell volume increasing, right? And might not see any right yet, but like right here, I mean, you can see the sell volume just spiking like crazy, and that's when it drops way down to the best deals, right? Like when I bought some at 10, like look at this bloodbath of red bars in the sell volume. Look how high that got. And that's when it goes to the really low prices. And that's also when it's most uncomfortable to buy. And that is really when you know you're buying something good, is when your palms are kind of sweating because you're like, oh my God, this is crazy. Everybody's freaking out. Like, is the bottom going to bottom out? That's when you know that you're sitting on a good trading price, or a good buy price, I should say. Cool. Last thing I wanted to mention real quick, with NXT and what is it, Arbor or something? They are kind of connected. I found out that, ARDR, these two are connected through an ICO. It's actually a really interesting experiment. They're basically building an inefficient blockchain to compete with Ethereum, right? It's inefficient so that it can't get hacked and all these other things. There's a great Steam It post series that I've been reading. I'm going to summarize that tomorrow. I'll link to it. Tomorrow we'll go through it all. But someone asked about NXT, which I think was helpful because that stock, or that coin, has just gone through the roof. So keep an eye on NXT. But realize that it's kind of got this network effect to fuel it with a lot of different sources of volume, which is what causes this to skyrocket. So tomorrow we're going to dive into that, assuming there's no other big news. But I am going to check that one out. In terms of deals of the day or things to look out for the day, I mean, I think OMG, I think it's still got a lot of legs. I mean, just since we've been on this, right? It's gone up from 72 up to 73.5. I actually think Elastic is also really interesting. We've been talking about this a few times, and it kind of depends on what your buying tolerance is. I don't like necessarily to buy on green days, but all the charts that I've seen guys putting up are showing that we're kind of at the bottom of a trough, and it could easily fire itself up. Now, it only got listed on Bittrex recently. On other exchanges, it's a much longer history. But Elastic could be interesting. What was the other one that I was looking at? I think the final one, I mean, Lumens. I'm still thinking Lumens has got some legs. XLM. I just think that the overall chart of this is not going to be a quick turnaround, but I see it. That it was up at 3,000 satoshis, right, give or take, and right now it's at 6. And this company is massively backed by huge venture capital firms, by some of the top investors in Silicon Valley. It has a great relationship with Stripe, which is the biggest payment processor out there. I like Lumens. I'm holding a lot of Lumen right now, which I bought between like 540 up to like 790 is kind of the range that I bought in, right around kind of between here and here I've been buying. And I think it's going to go way back up in the coming the coming months. So I like it a lot. It's not going to have the big days. But yeah, I think we can wrap it up there. Big news of the day. Watch this Bittrex exchange when the wallet's open. Should be happening any minute now. Check out the candles on Bittrex. You'll see what I'm talking about. Go look at history and look at the pattern of when you see those 4 in a row or 5 in a row of the sell volumes in a row, and see if you can find the ones that have the high sell volume. And start to look at that when you're making buying decisions. It is the best way to make a decision if you don't have any technical experience like myself and you just want to have some idea of what to look for. And then third, I would really go check out OMG. I think they're onto something. Wait for a dip. Wait for a little bit of a sell-off if you want to buy in. And let me know what you guys are checking out. We're gonna have some NXT info tomorrow. We'll also do a wrap-up on what's happening with Bitcoin Cash after these wallets open up. But yeah, in the meantime, guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you tell a friend to come watch or come comment on the video. Let me know what you think, good or bad. I'm welcome to any feedback that you guys have, but I'm having a great time. Thanks for being a part of this community, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.